What is up, guys? It's your boy Dom here, and today I got some special content for you all. I am doing an interview with the one and only Joker 1v1. Say what's up, bro.
Hey everyone.
So, I felt like with the recent losing of US West in World Cup, I thought it would be an absolutely excellent time to interview one of the most fascinating, if not the most fascinating 1v1 players that I know. So, why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us about yourself, in person in the game, and tell about, I guess, your backstory, because that's fascinating to me. So go ahead.
Alright. I'm Joker, as most people know. I also go as Blake, which is my real name. I'm 21. I've been playing Pokemon since about 2014 on Showdown. Been playing games of Pokemon for ages. Started back in Pokemon Stadium and all that sort of stuff on the N64. It's been a big part of my life, especially more recently, going through like homelessness and all that sort of shit. Uh, it's been kind of really difficult, I guess, more recently. Uh, you know, going from finding out you're being evicted to moving somewhere with somebody and then very next day finding out they're being evicted. So, like that stuff isn't really the greatest thing to find out, especially when you're like really young and have no experience with that sort of stuff.
hmm I was talking to, I think Cash about it probably a year ago, and he said that if most people went through the stuff that you went through, they'd become like deranged and like violent. But you're just a guy who just wants to have fun on playing Pokemon on the internet. So that's really the best way to go about it, in my opinion. That's like the best possible result. I don't really think you could be any better person than you are, to be honest. So
Thank you.
really, uh, yeah, going through homelessness just is a bit crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna link a post in the description that goes into Joker's like really his, I guess, backstory. But anyways, let's just get into the actual interview part. So, um, I won't lie. Sometimes when I read your posts or anything like that, they're a bit head scratching. Like when I saw your Smelly Socks fanfic in the One Phone Majors, I wanted to quit the internet. But at the end of the day, I do know that you're just trying to be the best person you can be. So I guess that kind of your idea of like having fun playing just kind of leads into like how you play and what Pokemon you bring. So can you describe why do you play that way and bring the stuff that you do?
Well, a lot of reasons I do what I do is because, as you mentioned, I want to have fun. Dealing with all this sort of stuff I do IRL, it's like, okay, why would I not want to have fun? I could
Yeah.
play the basic meta stuff like everybody else, but I guess after a while, it gets kind of boring. 'Cause you can't do the same thing every single day and expect to have fun. So like when I'm able to like bring stuff that's off meta or stuff that just wins in such a weird way, that just really intrigues me. Uh, I guess the prospect of winning against high quality Pokemon players with really stupid stuff is just very intriguing prospect to me. The like stuff like bringing like Magikarp. Like, who would ever bring Magikarp into a game? And it's just stuff like, okay, where do I really have to go from here? I only have the peak to reach. So if I'm out here trying to do stuff that nobody else is doing, and some way succeeds, there's no way that I'm going to be sad about losing if I'm taking these huge risks just to succeed and have fun.
hmm So I'm gonna ask, like, how do you think, and how much do you think do you express yourself as a person in the way that you play?
Well, a lot of like what I do as a person is wanting to have fun, uh being like who I am. It's more or less just trying to not have to deal with kind of everything like outside of you
Yeah.
know, Pokemon. Uh, so like expressing myself in game, whether it be, trying to outplay somebody with something like like pretty much like worthless compared to anything else. It's, I guess, in a way, it puts me in that kind of spot of, fighting kind of an uphill battle. And if I'm able to succeed in game, against, I guess, tough challenges, then it kind of gives me a bit of hope IRL to be able to, succeed in that and face the uphill battle I'm dealing with now.
Yeah, totally, man. Cause I always had the perspective of like, yeah, I'll bring like standard Pokemon, but my sets usually end up giving me some sort of edge or like something that they don't know that I have, which I think is key. Cause like I was helping people prep versus Finchinator in 1-1 PL. And I'm like, guys, why would you ever just bring standard versus him? That's literally the only thing he can like succeed well versus. Like, you gotta bring, those Specs Landos and those weird type of sets, And I'm not one to. Actually, I gave a few teams. Like, I gave Dez like a Suicune team. Suicune's not really used, and I gave him some more quirky stuff that did not end up getting used. So I think that it honestly gives you an advantage. So, do you think it gives you an advantage versus most players? I think it gives you an advantage versus new players for sure, but what do you think about just most players in general? Does running Vaporeon and Oras give you an advantage versus people, or no?
I feel like depending, because most people aren't going to know what set I'm bringing. Like, who's going to know? Like, if I'm using like an example before, like if I brought the Carnivine, you've always hated that set. But if I have brought that to somebody, nobody's going to expect Carnivine running Acid Spray and Stockpile. Just random hitting somebody, or if like you Orion and so use Sylveon set that everybody uses now with the Yawn and Frick Tears. Like, a lot of people don't expect these random things. Like, especially when we were playing in PL. Like, who's gonna expect Haban, Tailwind, Reflect, Hydreigon to beat, the Charizards? Like, there's no way that you're going to look at a set and just automatically start thinking, okay, that's going to be the set that he's going to bring. I guess the only like disadvantage to that is I'll overthink, because like a lot of stuff that I go through, I'm adding more, I guess, elements of, okay, do they know I'm this set? Do they think I'm that? Like, what are they thinking? And a lot of times I'll over predict myself, which then kind of leads to a bit of me kind of, feeling kind of remorse about, I guess, doing all this sort of stuff, because I kind of end up harming myself in a bit of the stuff. So like, I'll put a lot of emphasis into kind of wanting to win with certain sets, and sometimes that can lead to my downfall.
I remember versus Mubs in PL. Mubs just brought a team that was like 3-0 by Heatran or something. And I think you thought it was Brick Break Zard, so you sat there for like 7 minutes just staring at the preview, and then you went into like not Heatran or something like that. And then Mubs didn't really realize he had that win con of you overthinking, and he kind of just tried to play his like small odds versus Train, but it wasn't really that good. So yeah, overthinking is a huge issue, because something I've started doing when I play like friendlies and shit is I just never unclick anymore, because like that's just doubting yourself,
Yeah.
Like, I think some players do it in tournament series like all the time, and maybe that works for them. But I remember versus Rai in PL2 finals, I like clicked every mon I had in that series. I was so fucking nervous. Like, I feel like you just gotta play with some confidence. Like, you're gonna lose some games regardless. Not everyone can 7-0 every single tournament. So just be the best player that you can be, really. Like, work to your strengths and all that. I think overthinking can be the downfall of many players, especially in like stressful situations,
Yeah.
So yeah, I was more about like stuff like Carnivine. Is that when I think of Carnivine, I think of like Sleep Powder cheese, like Sleep Powder sub SD cheese or something like that. So I would like send in a sub mon, and then I would totally lose a stall. Because sometimes, not always, But sometimes the worst type of stall to face is like the unexpected stall, like because then you're just not ready for it. Like if you see a Mega Slowbro preview, you know how to tackle Mega Slowbro. But I don't know how to tackle a stockpile Carnivine if I think it's like some Sleep Powder HD set, you know? So yeah, and like Haban, Hydreigon or whatever with Tailwind and all this stupid shit. That I wouldn't look at that Hydreigon and be like, okay, that's Haban Tailwind. I would just think, oh wow, that Haban is like, or that Hydreigon's like maybe trying to beat Zard or something, and it can do that in a variety of ways. Like, so yeah, I think you play in a pretty unique way. Unfortunately, I did not see eye to eye to that when I was your captain. Like, dude, what, like 3 years ago? But since then, I've kind of accepted that you play the way you do, and clearly, that's just something that you log on and do, because what's the point in logging on and running like, you know, Mega Metagross Charizard type of teams and ORAS?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyways, that's no shade at Derek, by the way. I know he's a Mega Metagross Charizard fan, but that's just something that clearly you're not wanting to do, because I love playing in game and using like unexpected strategies. Like, I was just destroying Pokemon Fire Red with a Mono Bug Nuzlocke, and my Butterfree was just carrying, dude. It's just fun to see Pokemon like Butterfree just be top tier threats, I guess, you know, in certain situations. So anyways, I guess my question still is, you've kind of tackled it, or kind of described this a little bit, but why do you keep playing 1v1?
Well, I know I started, like when I first started Showdown and all that sort of stuff, I started out as doing like Monopoke and Ubers. Like I really found that more fascinating because, growing up and like watching anime and sort of stuff like that, you'll see like the 6v6 battles. It's like, okay, I want to do that. And you start playing that sort of stuff. But like after, I guess time went on, it's like, okay, well, you're able to win a battle in like one or two moves. Like I guess kind of that kind of really kind of drove me towards 1v1 when it first started. And being able to, just be able to beat one Pokemon and just click and make one choice. It kind of just gets you right into kind of the, I guess, immersion of like trying to escape from everything. Because like if you're playing like a 6v6 battle, it takes kind of a while until you're down to like those last stressful moments. And playing 1v1, it's like, okay, you're straight into that, and any kind of mistake you make will automatically, like right at the start, be very crucial. So like being able to have to think right away and kind of have to escape kind of everything that I have to deal with IRL is like a big part of why I play 1v1.
So with that in mind, do you say you would ever brainlessly ladder, because or like just brainlessly play, or just play without a lot of thought or purpose? Because I can't count the amount of times that I've just autopilot laddered and like choked just random games that I should have won, or like they were obviously doing something predictable and I didn't call them on it. So do you always put your brain and your heart into it, or do you just do it sometimes just because?
Well, when it comes to like tour battles, if I'm playing against somebody who's, I guess, proven, I'll put like more like effort and thought into it and like actually care. But if I'm playing against somebody that's like unknown, I'm not going to, I guess, try as hard or put much effort into that. But like when it comes to like ladder, you kind of just play ladder like mindlessly. A lot like with me, like I'll test out random stuff and I'll try forcing stuff to, I guess, happen. I know like more recently on the ladder, I've been doing stuff like rest us, psycho shift, which will actually give them a sleep turn that you can actually count how many turns they're going to be asleep, which is actually very, really cool in concept, but it kind of like relies on like RNG. So like stuff like that is just really fun just to, try out and just start trying to get, just because like if you can do something really cool, people aren't going to really, care as much when you do it like on ladder if you do it like in like an actual tour. Like I know like a couple years ago I brought a conversion Porygon Z with Curse, and I actually won a PL game with Z conversion Curse Porygon. And it's like going back to like that, like you can like take like a lot of like prep and effort into thinking about stuff like that, but like a lot like with more challenging players, they're kind of hard focused on, okay, these are like the top ways to play the game. And basically when it comes to games, it's about whoever makes the less mistakes basically wins. Um, so when it comes to like finding ways to be creative and enjoy stuff, a lot of that kind of just comes into mindfully playing or just thinking about different sets and stuff.
Yeah, so I was just gonna ask, like, how much. I was thinking about it, and then you kind of started going that way, so I'm happy to go in this direction. How often is it that like you just come up with some random tech or some ladder thing, and then you realize like, wow, this is really good.
Well, a lot of it starts as me, thinking of one thing. So, like, I'll start thinking about, okay, so if I can run like flame charge encore on something, and then I find out that one, like a Pokemon has like a certain move that like doesn't actually, can use those kind of sets. So I kind of, go to Mon and like keep on looking at different kind of things. So like I'll start out as like, okay, well, I want to play. I can start playing like dual typings. So like I can play like dual uh bug or dual uh fire and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, like no matter like what you go up against, is that you'll always have the advantage. But like other stuff as finding just like random kind of offsets is you put a lot of time into thinking it's like, okay, so how do I beat Zards? If we're going like into auras or sun and moon, you start thinking like, okay, so what are some off ways of beating that? And you start looking into that and start thinking of like stuff about like Greninja. You can run Greninja with like HP Rock to beat Zards. And then you start thinking, okay, well, how do other HPs like work against other mods? So then
Mm-hmm.
you start looking into stuff like, okay, well, if you go HP fighting against a Acton, normally
Can you repeat
a
that? AP fighting against what? You kind of cut out there because my internet kind of sucks.
yeah, no problem. So then if you run uh, HP fighting Greninja, you'll be super effective against Magnezone and do as much damage in 2 hits. But you can also run a V on it, which would allow you to not only live a Miracle, but also live like a Z move or a
Yeah.
Cuspat. As and just stuff like that. You can just find little ways of beating things, even if it's like a small chance that it's like more damage or I guess more chance to live. Like just like smaller things you can find to, I guess, find those advantages. And it kind of just comes down to like who you're playing or if you're just playing ladder like mindlessly. Because if like you're playing PL, like if I was playing against you, like there's a lot of stuff like I'll look at. It's like, can I bring the set versus like you, and can I actually get a win out of it? If I don't think I can, I won't bring that, and I'll bring something else. I because when you prep, you're not going to bring something that you don't think you're going to win with. So like if I can feel like I can win versus you or somebody else using an offset, I'll bring that offset.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen my HP Fire Rocky Helmet Greninja?
I am not.
All right, I'm gonna show you a replay really quick. I was just searching it. It might take a little. Is it semifinals? Oh wait, no, hold up. Okay. Anyways, so I'm gonna go on to my next question while I find this replay. Um. So this is gonna be maybe a tough question, but can you describe your experience with US West, and then go into like why do you think they're not succeeding right now?
Well, a lot of my experience with US West started out with you, as most people would know. We didn't have the greatest relationship uh, at the start, and maybe that's because we were both kind of younger, and we didn't see eye to eye. And
Yeah,
over
for
time, we
sure.
kind of, you know, to I wouldn't say, not hate each other, kind of like understand more of each other and kind of where each other's coming from. Because I think that's like the biggest thing with like now in like US West is I'm not as, I guess, close to as much of the people there as like most of them are. So like being able to come in and just be my normal self, which is doing the hell I want all the time, is not something they're really looking forward to doing. Because they, of course, they don't want me bringing like offsets and stuff like that, because they wouldn't do that. So it's just such a small kind of percentage of doing that. But like more recently, as you kind of dropped your leadership of US West to Boat, uh, it's kind of gone in a different direction, as he doesn't you know really see eye to eye with me. Uh, we've had some like talks behind the scenes and sort of things like that to see what we can do about this stuff. But he kind of views me as this person that kind of just emotionally attacks people. Uh, which there's like a part of that I can see. Uh, but like dealing with like all the stuff I deal with, depression and all that sort of stuff, if a little bit comes out where I'm getting, you know, blamed or like I guess criticized, it's kind of like a big deal to me, because like why would I want to be criticized in a Pokemon game when I'm trying to have fun? So
Mm-hmm.
like that's a bit of like the tension there. But I know more recently, I talked to about basically everybody on the team, and they basically all wanted me, but it ended up becoming a kind of higher up decision from Boat, who doesn't really see eye to eye to me. So it's kind of hard to, you know, get on the side of he wants me to be on the team. And I know this year he said that he wanted me uh, not to be on the team, more so because of his disdain for me, but also because of a thing that happened probably a few months ago, where I would said a few things and they didn't take very kindly to that, and it kind of led to them trying to cancel me for a second. But kind of water under the bridge at this point.
Yeah.
Uh, Everybody's cool. Uh, I'm kind of friends with everybody there. Boat was willing to, I guess, take a little step aside and let me be on the team. I know Elo Bandit really kind of even pushed me, like pushed me to be as a sub at least, but Boat kind of made the final decision, which is kind of really weird, uh, because Elo's also the captain, but doesn't get a say. It's kind of very strange. If you're supposed to be, kind of partners in that sort of
Exactly.
sense.
So you're talking about how one captain has more say over the other, and we're
Yeah.
looking at them consistently embarrassing themselves in the tournament at this point. Without me post, double ORS slots, they're just
Yeah.
embarrassing themselves. Really, they have no lack. They have maybe like damn near all PL starters right on their team, and they can't get their shit together. Like
Yeah.
there's clearly issues with the team, and I think they need to be more open-minded in the future. Like, quite frankly, you would have helped them this year. Like, for example, their sub Super Mean Bros got fucking 4-0'd in a clutch scenario. I think you could have put up more of a fight. But
Yeah.
it'll just be interesting to see how the future is. Will they be extremely stubborn and continue to just do terrible with a quite frankly experienced team, or will they be more open-minded and find a great place for every player? I mean, only time will tell. But speaking of tournaments, I guess, what has been your favorite 1v1 tournament experience? Like your favorite 1v1 maybe like time, like or like maybe a tournament? Because I'd say my favorites were PL3, but what do you think is your favorite or
Well,
favorites?
there's like a couple. Like there's been a lot of like ones like I've won over the years. I've been here for a while. I
Yeah.
should actually kind of win some at that point. But a lot of it kind of comes down to whether I like team success or kind of more solo success. At like first, like my very first tournament was classic. I know I was the first ever classic winner, and that was like a really big deal because that was my first ever tournament I won. So like being able to win that, uh, that was like a really big deal for me, because at that point I was kind of like this person that was kind of like still new. So being able to make this kind of really impactful win and first impression was like really kind of amazing for me to do that. Even though I kind of spent like 3 to 4 months calling out ecstatic cold for him to drop in semis, but you can't really have everything your way. Um, but going to PL3, like that was really fun because at that point we never dropped a game, and I don't know any other Premier League team that's actually done that on Showdown. That was like a really cool experience not to be able to drop one game the entire thing to one defeated. Because each week you have, so many strong players that you play against, but knowing that you can do whatever you want and still win. Like I brought 3 dittos and still won. Like this crazy stuff like that is kind of really, surreal to actually be able to, I guess, express myself and not have to worry because you know how strong of a team you have behind you that's going to back you up.
Because if you're on the E-Trans, you can afford to run some stupid shit.
Really, like, that's not a huge concern. Like, oh man, I need to win this game because my teammates are unviable. No, like, the Heatrans were fucking broken. But also, a thing to know with PL3 is that since the drafting was so bad, all the playoff teams, or like 3 of the playoff teams, were like really, really good. So there was always that threat looming in the distance of like playoffs are going to be insane because these teams are so, or like 3 of the teams were so broken, just way better than the other ones. So you would say Classic 1 and PL3 are your favorites?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. And okay, hold up. I'm looking at my notes right now. All right, so what happens when you take a loss in 1v1? Like you have a big tournament loss.
If it's like a big tournament loss, it's very, very disheartening. Especially since like you put so much kind of time and effort into that. I know like a lot was because I kind of have nothing. Like losing kind of feels really horrid, even if it's in kind of a video game, because for me it's like I'm losing and then seeing other people get cheered and succeed off of my failure. It's like that kind of aspect is very, very disheartening to see and very kind of emotionally draining when you put so much time and effort into wanting something.
Yeah.
See at the like your cost, even if like you lose to a crit, play them, if you do all this sort of stuff, and then you still have to sit there and take the L nowhere.
Okay. You cut out a
A
little
lot
bit,
of times that it's so emotionally draining.
Yeah. Anyways, so how often is it that when you like lose a big series that you're fine with it? Does that ever happen?
See, when it comes like the team tours like PL, right? Like I could lose I get to play next week. When it comes to like single elimination, like if it's like it's my last elimination in like a double elimination tour, or if I'm in a single elimination tour, being knocked out of a tournament just really sucks. Because then you're like, okay, you don't get to play anymore, and then you see all these other people getting to, I guess, experience that fun that you wanted. So having to sit there and watch these people kind of live out what you kind of, I guess, wanted and kind of imagined, it really gets kind of emotional. So it kind of comes to like almost every single time it's like a big tour. So like with majors, like I didn't really take majors that seriously. I made it to I think top 8 or top 4, something like that. And I lost. It wasn't a big tour. It didn't have much value to me as like saying like, okay, I want to win classic, or I want to win like ladder tour, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like these bigger that you want to win and then don't, and then see other people exceed you in that kind of sense. Really, it's just really horrible.
Yeah. My internet started having you cut out a bit, but the basic point was thought across. Yeah, majors was interesting because it seemed like that was just a tour that maybe only 1 or 2 people really cared about, and I don't know. I don't think that tournament should exist in its current form. I think it's just not working. But that's another rant for another day. I actually do plan to rant on that at one point. But anyways, so talking about these tournaments now, you could say that I guess the tournament dichotomy has shifted. With Paddock getting to majors finals and Eblurb winning a classic. So I want to hone in on Eblurb because he's quite an interesting case study. So what skills do you think Eblurb, or someone like Eblurb, who just walked in as a noob and wins a tournament, like a big tournament, what skills do you think they possess?
It's kind of hard because he kind of won the tournament because GGOPW kind of got banned, so he didn't have to play that guy. So like kind of walking in and winning kind of a tour that you kind of, when it's kind of like the easier path, it's like, okay, you just had to win one game and then you're in finals, rather than having to do all this other stuff. That's kind of, it didn't make it feel kind of like a big triumphant win for that person.
Absolutely.
But like you can like win kind of cups, but nobody really cares about winning cups that much
They
because
don't.
the entire like big focus is you want to win classic. You don't want to, like, who cares if you win DPP Cup? Like, who's gonna remember that? So like coming in and like performing well, I was like, I guess it kind of had a little kind of aspect of me kind of coming in and winning. But from that, it was like I had to kind of go the hard road. I had to beat first place and I had to do that stuff. He didn't. He kind of just got a first, kind of bye straight to the
Yeah.
finals.
So do you think he possesses any particular skills that maybe you didn't need in your classic run? Do you think, or do you just think he just somehow made playoffs, made round one, and then skipped the best player of all time?
Well, he kind of had a lot of like lucky calls during the entire thing. So like that kind of played an aspect to that. Because like a lot of players like now that kind of win like tours, like kind of just one and done. Cause like a lot of like hacks now, cause with all like the stuff going on, is kind of more common. Cause everybody kind of runs the same thing. But like kind of his skills and sort of stuff, I feel like he's like a decent player. As for whether or not they, kind of qualify, you one of the top that should have won that tour do well,
Okay,
but when you
cut
kind
out
of
after you
get
said qualified.
lucky with hacks and then kind of avoid, so basically he kind of having to like be like the best players in kind of that tour. Clearly wasn't the best player. The best player got banned. And then avoiding that player is kind of is one tour I beat all these players, but you didn't. You got kind of this free ride. So like his skills are, decent and average. Like he can play well and perform well. But should he have won that tour? I don't believe he should have, no.
Because there's kind of a mysterious kind of aura about Eblurb winning classic. Like, he doesn't feel particularly like, wow, Eblurb won classic. Like, I'm so proud of him. It's
Or
more like,
especially this year, since they kind of dropped a round two, so they made it even easier.
Yeah, so he won one quarterfinals game, which is not hard. Like, a lot of, like, there was pretty much no old gen specialists besides like maybe a GGPW or I guess Close is not, he's not really a specialist, he's just an extremely well-rounded player. So he kind of just, like, it doesn't feel particularly earned because the best 1v1 player of all time could have beat his ass and probably would have beat his ass, but didn't get the chance to, really. So yeah, that's just something that I thought I'd talk about, since there's kind of been a dynamic change, and honestly, I didn't even introduce this, but you've been around in 1v1 since pretty much the beginning of Gen 7, which kind of is when the whole community and tournament scene started. So like I kind of wanted to get your perspective on how things have changed. So Okay, I've got most of my questions done. This is gonna end like in the next 15 minutes probably. But so I guess what are you looking forward to in the future, like in 1v1 or just life in general? What are your hopes and goals and stuff like that?
Well, I know with the introduction of Gen 8, right? That was kind of a step back because Gen 7 was such a great gen. It had aspects of like we had this which gave you like endless possibilities. But then with like the community, and don't do other stuff, it's kind of like, okay, well, now you have to kind of make this new community, which is kind of a shell of its former self. I'm kind of hoping that things kind of go back to, kind of how like Gen 6 or Gen 7 was, having these, I guess, multiple like, choices of Pokemon, having multiple choices, not having to play basically rock, paper, scissors for the rest of your, career as a 1v1er. So like that aspect I hope changes. But like for life, I really hope stuff just starts to look up for me. And, a lot of it kind of sucks. A lot of it so sucks, having to sit here and kind of wait for things to kind of land in your lap, even though you put like the effort out there, sometimes it doesn't matter. And, as time goes on, you kind of get older and then people start to, care less about you. So, I'm hoping stuff kind of works out, both in 1-1 and in life. But as for everything in whole, it's kind of fine. It's an escape from everything. Could be better.
Okay, so I just thought of a question on the spot, and it's way less. This is kind of stupid because we were just talking about tournaments. Now we're talking about life. But okay, I'm gonna ask it anyways. So, do you feel the sense of people trying harder in like team tournaments now than they did before? Like, do you feel like there's been like a kind of attitude change at all?
I feel like in the past, right? Like a lot of the stuff is people making like these like, oh, this is a team tour, so it's kind of a new thing to everybody. And as the time kind of goes on, especially with them trying to, kind of franchise like PL and stuff like that, they're putting more of an emphasis of you having to try more. You can't do anything fun. It's kind of taking away a lot of the aspects of kind of what makes Pokemon. Like if we want to have fun, but now we all have to try hard. If somebody doesn't win or gets hacked or doesn't do something, they just are looked down upon. They're blamed for it, and just there's like a lot of kind of hate and animosity, especially during team tours, because it pits people, even people that you're friends with, against each other. But it's really hard for like that kind of aspect to kind of be franchised when Pokemon is just meant to have fun. But we're not out there playing
Yeah.
competitively. We're not trying to get like money. Well, I know recently they kind of introduced that, but it's like we're just here to have fun. We're not here to be yelled at and all this sort of stuff. We just want to play Pokemon.
Yeah. I just think myself that there's definitely been a dynamic change that kind of started with this PL or it kind of started with last PL, I guess. And then it's really evident this World Cup. Like, did you see how many people were just jawing to like the last like 5 days, bro? Or the last week? Like, that was insane. Like, there was very few games done in like the first few weeks. It was insane. People are just try hard team building, try hard testing, try hard like theorizing stuff, try hard like asking their teammates about stuff. Because everything is just so try hard, and I don't know, man. It's just, as a spectator, it was kind of weird to see just the first few weeks of World Cup just be such a ghost town. And like I got looking forward to certain matches that I ordinarily would not give a single shit about, just because, oh wow, it's a match, let's go, So I'm gonna look at my notes a little bit here on how to finish this up. Okay, I have the fun questions. So Bofu wants to know, tomboys or femboys, which do you prefer?
I could not care less.
All right, so it does not seem like you give or have much stake in that. So also, tits or ass, Beaufort wants to know.
Not more of a leg guy, so I'll probably just say ass.
All right, good answer, man. Good answer. And okay, so this is gonna be the cringe part of the interview. So I have heard from a few people that they think you are somewhat transphobic, and I know you're not a hateful person or anything like that. I just think you've been misunderstood. So do you have anything to say about that just publicly?
I don't hate trans people. They can do what they want. Whether you believe the science behind what people are saying, how it's a mental disease, or whether it should be, something that's open to everybody, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to go out of my way to put somebody on a pedestal and, promote them and say they get to have all these aspects and, rewards just for having, that kind of thought of I want to be a man, I want to be a woman, or already feeling like you are. Like, there's like a big difference there, and people have so much, I guess, animosity and hate towards that. Where if somebody says something like calls somebody a guy when they're a female or think they are or believe they are, there's like a lot of hate that's like put on that person. And that I don't enjoy. I don't want people to spread hate over just saying, hey dude, and then somebody getting upset because dude is referred to a man mostly.
Yeah, it's just a little weird. I mean, I've heard you say stuff about just you like not knowing people's pronouns and stuff. That I feel like people just take that quite seriously.
It's also the internet. Like, how am I supposed to
Yeah.
know if somebody's a guy or a girl?
Yeah. But I know you have no disdain for anyone. Just try to. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, but being educated about that type of thing is key. And yeah, that's really the note we're gonna leave off on. A very strange one, but yeah, that's pretty much all the questions I have. Do you have any final words or thoughts or anything like that?
West needs to get better Switch players.
Okay, wait. Okay, so they were 2-7 this year, and last year they were 1-8. So they are 3-15 in SS in the past 2 years. So I'm gonna have to agree with that statement. Actually, that's a great note to leave off on. So I'm gonna go end this recording, and I don't know how much I'm gonna edit this video because you cut out a little bit, but I'm gonna go stop the recording and edit. So peace out, man.
Right,
Good talking to you. If you guys have any suggestions of who you'd want to see interviewed next, let me know. This is a pretty basic interview. I'm willing to go way deeper, way more philosophical, all that shit. Drop a comment. Also, while you're at it, drop a like, drop a sub, all that shit. Peace out, guys.